So welcome back. We're going to get into a really important part of the ollie, and that is really the action of your lead leg and how it affects the launch angle of your board. Now, obviously, a good strong snap is a big part of getting the board to pop up, getting the nose to pop up, but the action of the lead leg actually allows that board to take a different path. So the nose can either get caught early and stay low, or we can catch it a little later and get that board steeper in our takeoff. It's really important because launch angle actually is usually a characteristic of a much higher ollie. So if you're trying to add amplitude, or you're just trying to learn the ollie and you want to understand the action of the lead leg, we're going to get into that and break it all down. And as you watch these different ollies we're going to get into, just pay close attention to the path that the front foot takes and the actual action of that front foot, front leg in clearing so the nose can climb, and in catching so that the tail will start to climb. Really important stuff. Let's get into this and check it out. Okay, let's get right into the action of the lead leg. There's a whole cycle to what the lead leg, the foot and the lower leg and the whole leg has to do, right? And it directly connects to launch angle. And what's launch angle? Well, simply put, that's how steep is your board. What's the steepest point your board achieves in the start of your ollie? So when you're popping the tail down, the nose comes up, how steep does it get, right? And we're gonna look at that. But really quick, let's just walk through the action of the lead leg. It's so important. I mean, first, we're going to start to lift that lead leg by lifting the knee up, and we're going to roll that front foot forward, right? Now, as we roll it forward, we want to peel it off the board and tip the lower half of our lead leg back towards our back leg. That gets our front foot back away from the board a little bit and clears some space so the board can climb to a steeper launch angle. Now, as you're lifting up, the front foot's going to roll all the way out until it catches the nose on the top of the shoe against the nose past the front wheels. Once that happens, that's going to end how steep your launch angle gets usually. That's about where it ends, right? So that contact point is where the board stops ramping up. And again, steep launch angle leads to better action in the ollie, more amplitude in your ollie, and more options and control and better feel overall. Now, once we hit that point, the front foot has to start to roll that pinky toe edge into the nose. Foot's going to roll back towards being more on top of or behind the front trucks. As you roll into it, you're going to swing that leg out. So we go from lead leg back like Peter Pan to lead foot rolled in and starting to move out like a kung fu or a karate snapping sidekick into the nose to bring the tail up. We're going to catch that tail with the back foot and stomp down. That's the action, right? So we got a little Peter Pan flight action into a snapping sidekick action to finish or to control the board, and then stomping down and absorbing that impact to land, right? In this video, I've got Jordan. You guys have probably, if you watched the videos that I've done so far, you've seen these videos, you can see a couple things here, okay? Right here, he's gonna start to lift that lead leg. There it goes. He's starting to roll that front foot out, right? He catches up past the front wheels on the top of his shoe perfectly. That's amazing. But note that his lead leg isn't tipped back in that sort of classic Peter Pan flight position, if you will. And it's a silly reference, but hey, it works. If this leg right here would tip back a little further, he'd get a steeper launch angle. So let's look at that. So if his leg were here, right now his launch angle is right here. That's about as steep as it gets. If this foot made it to this point right here, his launch angle would be more in line there. Really interesting thing, but again, a much steeper launch angle, more opportunity for amplitude, for height in this case. Now, note that to get the nose to come up, he had to have a good snap, and he really does. He has a great snap with his back foot. Really quick, I'll clear out these drawings. I want you to see where that pivot point is in the lever action of his ollie. All right, so right here, he lifts. Right now, the fulcrum is at his back wheels. Really important to note, that's the fulcrum point. That's the pivot point. But once he snaps the tail into the ground with his back foot right there, the fulcrum changed to his tail. So it went from pivoting around this point right here, right? Now it's going to start pivoting a little bit right around that point. And the nose, if his front foot were out of the way, would continue to climb up this way, kind of vault up. It's a really cool action. and that snap is critical. So we've got to clear the front foot out of the way, but we also have to have a good snap to get that nose up. So that's why, I mean, whenever you're practicing your ollies, there's so many pieces moving at the same time. Now, let's take a look at the last action of that cycle in Jordan's ollie, right? So here we go. He's going to catch it right there. And here's where he starts to roll the pinky toe edge of his foot into the nose of the board. And you can see now his front foot is back on top of the trucks or even slightly behind the trucks. Really important because that's going to help him land stable. If he landed with his front foot up there on the nose, he would probably go over the nose of the board when he lands and tumble, right? But in this case, the rolling action, he releases that roll. And it's really important to note that how effectively you release that roll and then start to extend into your side kick. So you go from Peter Pan to Kung Fu Guy, determines how fast that tail climbs and connects with your back foot. And you want that board to stay glued to your foot, right? So you have to control the action of the lead foot in concert, simultaneously with what you're doing and pulling your back leg up so that you can get the tail to connect with the back foot as early as possible in the ollie, right? Because you want it to look like totally glued. And no ollies, not all your ollies are going to be perfect, but the ones that feel the best are the ones where the board just was attached to you all the way through. Really cool feeling. So if Jordan would create a little steeper launch angle, right, or a little steeper angle with his lead leg, bringing that back foot back towards his back leg, right? And he would roll the front foot a little quicker, he'd have that tail connected to his back foot the whole way through. He'd have a higher ollie and he'd have that glued on effect, right? Let's take a look at a couple of ollies and see what the launch angle and the action looks like. Okay, so let's take a look at this ollie. This is from one of our subscribers, and this kid is a strong skater, working on some timing stuff with his ollie. But let's just take a look at the action of his lead leg and that launch angle and see what it looks like compared to what you saw with Jordan, right? So here he's rolling into it. You can see him start to lift right there. There's the roll of the front foot, so you can see all that going. Now he does something really cool. Look at how much angle he creates into sort of that Peter Pan-ish position in his lead leg. It's pretty awesome. When you get into it and you dig in, you can see right here, he's got a lot of angle to that lead leg. That clears room for him to get a steeper launch angle in his board. So his launch angle is like this, and Jordan's was a little flatter. Both really good ollies in this case, but in both cases. But here you can just see the difference in the action. So he's given more clearance for the board to vault up, create a steeper launch angle. He's going to probably have the potential of getting a much higher ollie than Jordan would with the action that Jordan has. So just good comparison right there just to see it. And here he's flowing right through. Here comes the action. Now he's going to start to roll his foot out pretty late. Look at how late he started to roll that foot. And you can see there's a disconnect between the tail and the back of the board, the tail of the board and the back foot, sorry. But watch. He's caught it right here, bounces a little bit, catches it again. There's the catch. Now right here is where he starts to bring the tail up, right? He's starting to roll that foot. And it's a pretty slow action. Jordan's lead foot action is actually a little quicker. He rolls into the nose of the board, cutting in with that pinky toe edge, getting that snapping side kick action to go a little sooner. And you can see there's a disconnect between the back foot and the tail of the board because of that delayed action. And then he really does try to kick into it, almost getting some heel action there, right, to bring the tail up and connect to the back foot. And he's going to want that glued on effect. So I'm going to do a whole video on getting that thing to glue on to his foot specifically for this skater, just to help. But really look at that action. If he would speed up or start that roll, that secondary roll action of the lead foot, he'd start to bring the tail up a lot sooner. He'd have better action. Okay, so let's look at a beginner skater. And I know there are a lot of people watching these videos that are just learning how to do ollies, and that's great. And one of the biggest problems you're going to run into when you're learning how to do ollies is that your front foot is going to catch on the center of the board a lot of times, and just it'll feel like you can't slide it past the front wheels. It's just stuck there. And you watch this young skater that I've been doing some work with in a couple of videos on, and you can see that she has that problem. Her front foot just stays stuck in the same spot pretty much. If you watch real close here, a couple of these, it just is stuck there behind the front wheels. She can't move it. There it went a little bit. She got one where it released, right? And the big difference is she got clearance between the front foot and the nose because she lifted her foot faster. But remember, we want to lift it, but we also want to pull that front foot or tilt that front foot back towards the back leg to create clearance. And she kind of had a little bit of that action in this one versus the others, right? Let's see, there's probably one more here just so you can see it. You'll see the edge of that, the pinky toe edge just gets stuck right there, and it can't get past those front wheels. She's stuck there, right? And so we want to work on really creating that clearance. One of the best ways you could do that, so if you're a beginner skater, is just practice jumping on the ground. And first, just see if you can create that sort of Peter Pan action and that snapping sidekick action. And, do them separately. Do one, then jump, do the other, and then see if you can put them together and see if you've got feel. Can you feel your foot rolling, in and out, right? Can you feel both of those, the rolling action of the ankle and the foot as you do those kicks? It's really important that you get into that, because if you can't create that sensation and control it just jumping on the ground, you're darn sure not going to do it when you're trying to do an ollie. And then maybe take it and stand on your board between the trucks so you have balance, maybe on the carpet or in the grass, and try jumping off your board, because that makes it harder. You got a little balance effect. Do the same thing, get the same sequence. Can you pull that front knee up, right? Bring the front foot back towards the back leg, roll the foot, and then start to roll the foot the opposite direction and start to bring that front leg forward. So you go from, it's so funny, but Peter Pan to sidekick. It's so silly, but there you go. If you're a beginner, you're going to get stuck between the wheels with your front foot a lot until you learn how to do that. So take your time and build some confidence with it. Okay, let's look at one more quick ollie, and you'll see there's a different issue. There's a different thing going on with this ollie that actually blocks the launch angle of the board a little bit. And in this one, his back foot actually blocks the launch angle. So if we watch real close, you can see there's the lever action over the wheels, right? But when his tail hits the ground, his foot's connected to his board. So when that lever action should shift heavily to the tail right here on the board, it's blocked because his foot's still in contact with the tail, which blocks some of that launch angle effect, right? So he blocks it just a little bit. He delays or kills the action. Now, if he learns how to get a better pop, so he jumps off the board and then flicks and snaps the tail later, right? Then he'll start to have his back foot cleared out of the way so that so he doesn't impact the snap off the tail and all that levering and vaulting action to get the board to a really steep launch angle. But still, he's got a pretty good launch angle. He's doing great things with his front leg. Look at the lead leg angle right there. It's tipped back. He's in Peter Pan flight takeoff position, and he has a decent roll, but he doesn't get much of that sort of snapping sidekick action where his front foot gets out ahead of his front knee. So those are things he could work on. The timing of his snap, so he has clearance, and then of course more control over the roll of the front foot into the nose of the board to bring the tail up. Okay, I hope that seeing how launch angle is affected by the movement of your front leg and that whole cycle of moving your front leg, and then understanding where the lever points, where the fulcrum points are, the pivot points are, and the lever action of snapping the tail down. I hope this helps you. And if you're a beginner, I hope you got a little taste of something that could help you get better lead leg action, better snap. If you're somewhere in the middle and you're working on just timing that pop and you can't figure out why you're blocking, or if you're at the high end and you're having disconnect between your back foot and the tail of your board, or you're having a hard time locking it in, or you can't increase your amplitude, focus on launch angle, get the lead leg action to work for you, make sure the snap is clean and the board is free to lever up and get real steep. And then you'll start to find that you have better feel, better control, and better overall look to your ollies. All right, hope this helped, and be sure that you like, subscribe, share this video out, and bring more people into the channel, bring more people into skateboarding, and hopefully we helped improve your skateboarding. Thanks so much. We'll see you again next time.
Our goal is to help you learn how to skateboard and understand more about skateboarding. If this video helped you, be sure to hit us up in the comments below and tell us what you'd like us to focus on for our next video. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, and then subscribe to our channel and tell your friends all about us. If you'd like to learn more about the United States Skateboard Education Association, please visit www.ussea.us, where you can learn more about how to skate, learn more about helping others learn how to skate, and become a certified skateboard coach.